Coming up on At the Heart of It with Nancy Brown.
I think women have a tendency to carry the weight of the world and often take themselves last. We work well in community. We have to lift each other up.
Laura Bell Bundy is a multifaceted talent, singer, songwriter, actor, activist, mother, and survivor. LBB, as she's known to her fans, grew up under the bright lights of beauty pageants. At the tender age of 9, she began her entertainment career at Radio City Music Hall. She has been starring in film and on stage ever since. But throughout it all, Laura lived with a serious heart issue called ventricular septal defect. In 2015, she had surgery to repair the hole in her heart. Today, Laura is here to talk about her versatility and creativity and the valuable lessons she has learned throughout her life's journey. Welcome to At the Heart of It. I'm Nancy Brown, CEO of the American Heart Association.
The spotlight has always embraced Laura Bell Bundy. With chin up and a gleam in her eyes, she used that spotlight to inspire women in the most entertaining ways, on stage, in TV and movies, and through music and podcasts. She began her career by captivating audiences in a series of theatrical roles, including Ruthless, Hairspray, and the musical adaptation of Legally Blonde, which earned her a Tony nomination. Recently, she joined a star-studded cast in the Broadway comedy, The Cottage. Laura is a prolific creator with a gift for infusing humor into her characters. She also uses her voice for more than just singing and acting. Through podcasts, writing, directing, and advocacy, she is bringing awareness to women's issues, health concerns, and innovative solutions that will improve the lives of others.
Laura, thank you so much for being my guest today on At the Heart of It. It's so good to see you again.
It's my pleasure.
I would love to start today with something I do with all of my guests. It's called the Signature 5. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Paris, Kentucky, or Paris, France?
Paris, Kentucky.
Tell me why.
Well, I grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and I went to a dance school in Paris, Kentucky called Town and Village School of Dance. So much of my heart is there and like the beginnings of my creativity.
So when you say you learned to dance in Paris, people think, yes. Oh my gosh, how fabulous.
I did. I learned to dance in Paris.
I love it. What is your pre-performance ritual?
It depends on the show. It really does, because the play that I'm doing now, my pre-performance ritual is to have a little caffeine and throw my makeup on while my wig is going on, and that's about it. But when I do a musical, it tends to be, I warm up my body first, and then I warm up my voice. When I'm singing and dancing, yes. Especially the older I'm getting, it really requires quite a bit more of a warm up. And what I've learned about my voice is that my body has to be warm. Like I almost have to do cardio before everything kicks on and the breathing kind of like works out. So it's like cardio, then like some form of like yoga stretch, and then actual vocalization.
You're tired by the time you get to your performance.
That's the goal. If I'm tired by the time I get to my performance, I'm warmed up.
All right. Okay, next question. Do people know that you were the one in Jumanji?
Most people do not know I was in Jumanji. No, that's always a surprise for people.
Yeah. What do they say when they find out? They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were like, I had no idea that was you. Yeah. I was 13 when I filmed it, so I look a little different, but then they'll go back and watch it, and most of the time they discover it while watching with their children.
Oh, I love that. What's your favorite musical?
My favorite musical is Gypsy.
Oh, what a classic.
Yes,
what
definitely.
A classic. Best audience, evening or matinee?
I would normally say evening. However, we just had the best audience we've ever had on a matinee this last Saturday. They were like in hysterics. So I think it really depends on the play or the musical that you're doing and the audience that is coming.
Yeah, and the chemistry, right? It's all about the chemistry.
Yes, I think it's really interesting if a show is more adult. Sometimes your matinee crowds are better than your evenings because people are awake and alert. But if you're in a show like Legally Blonde, all the kids are coming in the matinee, so they don't laugh at the jokes, but they're big screamers and clappers. Yeah. So it depends on what you like best. Do you like screaming and clapping, or you like laughing?
And what do you like laughing? Best? You like laughing.
I like when they're laughing because it sustains us.
Yes, yeah. I love that. So let me ask you, you grew up in Kentucky, but you spent your summers in New York modeling and acting. During that time, you had the opportunity to work with so many different actors and play different characters. How did that experience shape the Laura Bell Bundy we know today?
I think the thing that shaped me the most out of that experience was the contrast between growing up in Lexington, Kentucky, in that environment, which at that time, it's very suburban now, but at the time when I grew up, it was much more rural, and there were horse farms everywhere, and the culture was very much about the horse industry, then having the juxtaposition of coming to New York City. But I think that was really important for me. I think it was important for me to see the culture. You know, I think New York City is a beautiful melting pot, and I got to see that at a young age, and I got to understand about different cultures and different foods and people with different lifestyles, and I loved all of that. It changed me in the best of ways to really have a true understanding of who we are in this country. And then in terms of creatively, I was exposed to some of the greatest teachers in the performing arts at a very young age. I worked with great performers. I learned by experience.
On the job.
Yeah,
right?
I learned on the job. I learned through experience. And so for me, you know, I would have private vocal lesson with a couple of incredible teachers, including Franco Iglesias, who was Julio Iglesias' cousin, who had trained Placido Domingo. Yeah. And he lived in my building, and I would just go up the elevator, and I would go, woo! Like
I love it.
He's like, you're belting too much. You have to sing at the opera. Yeah. And so I would.
The neighbors are all like, why are these people living in my building?
I know.
Yeah. I just love that. And you know, when you think about you're kind of the triple threat, right? You sing, you act, you can dance, you are like everywhere and everything. What about all of that makes you, gives you the greatest joy? Like if you had to pick one of the things that you love to do most, what would it be?
Well, for me, the thing that gives me the most joy is the act of being creative, is the act of inspiration. What's wonderful about being able to sing and act and dance is that wherever the inspiration strikes, I can go with it. I love doing musicals because all three of them come together. And we sing and dance and act at the same time. And really, in musical theater and in any type of vocal performance, there is no singing without acting at the same time. Because if you don't feel what you're singing, no one cares, right?
Yes, I love that creativity through it all, as you said. Mm-hmm. Now, you were 6 weeks old when you were diagnosed with your heart defect. Give us a little of that backstory. Tell us about it. When did you learn about it as you were growing up? We'd love to hear about it.
Right. I was 6 weeks. And my mom went into my, 1 month baby appointment, and they said, well, her heart sounds strange. We're gonna send you to Cleveland Clinic because I was born in Euclid, Ohio. And they said, she's got a hole in her heart. Most babies, this hole will close, but hers has not. So we're gonna monitor it. And then I guess as it just continued to not close, they would see me every 6 months. The Cleveland Clinic said that there is this amazing doctor, Dr. Jackie Noonan, who is at the University of Kentucky. So Jackie was my doctor there from the time I was a little over a year old. I know it was very scary for my mom to be totally alone and be told there's something wrong with your daughter's heart, because for her, she didn't know anything about heart murmurs, VSD, which is a ventricle septal defect, which is what I have. This was totally foreign. She didn't know if her brand new baby was gonna make it or not. It was a terrifying experience for her. She was 27, alone in the hospital. But she got educated about it. In fact, we've become, in general, the medical industry has become much more educated about the defect that I have. And if people hear it's a congenital heart defect, which is something that you're born with, which is different than some heart disease that forms later. Right. So I had to be monitored. Jackie Noonan felt that it would be more invasive for me to have surgery as a child than to live with it and wait for technology to catch up to close the hole. She also believed that the hole would close over time. And by the time I was in my 30s, the hole had closed, but my heart had started to become slightly enlarged because it had been working so hard my whole life. And that's when it became important for us to really start getting serious about a surgery. Because if I was gonna live the rest of my life in the active way that I had been living my life, in addition to starting a family, it would be very, very important for me to get it taken care of. So then that began my mission to try to figure out, like Jackie Noonan said, did technology catch up? Can I get this procedure done in a minimally invasive way?
Yeah. And it is amazing how technology has caught up. As a matter of fact, in my lifetime with the American Heart Association, children born with a congenital heart defect back in the days didn't necessarily always grow up to be adults. And it's interesting now that adult cardiologists are seeing patients who are having a children's heart defect, and it's created this whole new level of expertise that adult cardiologists need to have, and that is a victory. And your whole story is a victory because look at you and how radiant you are. You give so much hope for mothers who have to have that same news delivered to them.
Yes, and I'll tell you, at 18, I was told that I had to have open heart surgery. When I went to a new doctor when I was living in New York, I went back to Jackie Noonan. She said, your heart looks the same. At 28, when I was living in Nashville, I had the same news from a doctor who didn't understand. I was not going to see doctors who specialized in children's heart defects.
That's right.
They specialized in adult heart disease.
That's right.
And they were the best of the best,
Of
but
course.
they didn't understand a congenital heart defect. So I had to, I have spent more time as an adult in like the children's sections of hospitals. And even when I got my procedure, they put me in the NICU.
I love
with
it.
the baby.
With all the babies, yeah. But that is a sign of success because again, back in the day, the children, there were not the procedures and kids didn't become adults in many cases. And that really does go to show the power of investing in science and research and making sure that these cutting edge treatments and procedures can be developed and created. And that's what we do at the AHA, and that's why we have been so grateful to have you as such a volunteer leader and champion in our Go Red for Women movement. One of the earliest ways you got involved was by creating original songs and music for Go Red for Women that we released in February. But tell me, as an advocate and as a spokesperson and as a person who has such a big, powerful platform, what do you want women to know about heart disease?
Well, prevention is key. Sometimes for some women it's too late, right? So making sure that you understand what the signs are for a heart attack. I think women have a tendency to carry the weight of the world,
Absolutely.
To be taking care of everyone else and often take themselves last. And they're managing everyone and everybody's schedules to make sure that everybody else is okay, and they're the last one to see the doctor. And I understand this now after becoming a mom more than ever. The things that I let go in my health after having a child and prioritizing my child's health, I was a mess. I was a bit of a mess after the first year I had a child, and then I had to kind of take a step back and go, wait, I really do have to prioritize myself because I can't take care of anyone else if I'm not taking care of myself. Yeah. So it's important to make sure that you have regular checkups. Advocate, ask if you want an EKG done. Sometimes it's not always offered, but ask for it.
Getting enough sleep
Getting
is
enough
one of the
sleep.
new
Well,
risk
that's-
factors.
that is
That's
so
hard
hard.
for women, but it's really important.
Yes.
Knowing your numbers, and another thing I would say, knowing your family history. And, I am sure
That's
you are
true.
a person that's very committed to making sure, your child and
Yes.
those that will follow, that they understand and know family history, because doctors can be at their best when they see the full picture. And again, we're so grateful to you for all you've done for Go Red for Women. But it's not surprising in a way, because you mentor a lot of women. I mean, this is part of who you are in your industry. Tell us a little about your mentorship of women and emerging talent.
I founded an organization called Women of Tomorrow, and we look to change the social consciousness around women's value through art, education, and community. And we do that in a couple of ways. So I always find that if you're giving people information that you want them to know, it's easier to get that information through entertainment. So to listen to a song that happens to say something, or through comedy, a sketch video, or something like that. So I wrote an album called Women of Tomorrow, where every song delves into a different issue women are facing today. We have a podcast that dives deeper into those issues, the history of those issues, why we're here, and invites a guest to talk about how we can then move forward together. And then we have an app and community for women, where we have about 20 classes a month that range from women's health to business, leadership, wellness, fitness, various things. We could have, we have a class on negotiation, we've got a class on pelvic floor, we've got, the whole gamut. And then we have the Female Fight Club every week, basically, which is learn the facts before you fight for your rights, essentially. So it's educating women about what rights they do have in our country, what rights they don't have, and how they can advocate for themselves, and then how they can work to change those laws to make sure that they do have things that they need, like maternity leave, like pregnancy leave, pregnancy pay, these things, like making sure that women understand those things that they may not know how to use if they do have them, or they may not have them in their state and they need to advocate for them. So, we cover all of these.
I was going to say, that is amazing. So you sing, you dance, you act, you produce a podcast, you have released over a half a dozen country music albums. What is your secret? How do you prioritize everything, and how do you do everything with such excellence?
Well, I don't think I do everything with such excellence, especially after having a child. I think I'm just doing everything. But I go back to inspiration, right? If I'm inspired to do something, I move towards it and I focus on it, and I try to go to the finish line. I have great partners. These things would not be done without collaboration and without a great team. And I have a partner in Women of Tomorrow, Shay Carter, who wrote the album with me, who does the podcast with me, who has really taken over the community in the last 4 months as I've been doing the play.
You're able to really compartmentalize the things you're focused on, and really important lessons in life and in business for all of us. Count on other people. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You don't have to take all the credit. Make sure that you're lifting other people up.
Yes.
Really fabulous lessons.
And let me tell you, with women, listen, we have to lift each other up. We have to hold the ladder for each other to climb. We have to support one another. And with Women of Tomorrow, we have been creating an ecosystem where women learn from other women. Our teachers are all women. And women can reach out directly to the other women that they have taken a class from and take a private with them. It's a beautiful thing. We work well in community. We birthed the human race. We can do
anything. Laura Bell Bundy, you have got that right, and you certainly can do anything, and you've demonstrated that day in and day out with your career. Thank you for your commitment to the American Heart Association, and thank you for being my guest today. It's been such a great conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Laura's career is rich and entertaining, and her creativity, hard work, and advocacy for others offstage is equally inspiring. I count myself as one of her biggest fans. How do you foster creativity, and how do you use your creative talent to help others? I'd like to hear about your story. Comment below, hit subscribe, and join me here next time for At the Heart of It. From my heart to yours, thank you for watching.